Welcome to the second video of the Python Fundamentals series. Today I'll be running you guys through operators. So operators is quite a crucial concept within Python, and it's definitely something that you want to learn, and it's pretty straightforward. You just need to know all the rules and what operators are available for you to use when you're coding in Python. So the first operators we'll be showing you today would be arithmetic operators. So these arithmetic operators are simply just used for calculations. We have the basic addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And there are three other operators that you should know. The first one is floor division, second one is modulus, and the third is exponential. So the floor division is essentially, it will always round down to the nearest whole number. So when you're doing a calculation and it has a decimal place, it will always give you a whole number. The modulus is used to give you the remainder of any division. So if you have a division and it doesn't exactly divide into a whole number, it will just give you the remainder. The exponential will just raise your number to the power of the number you give it. The arithmetic operators are pretty straightforward, and feel free to have a play around with it. So the second type of operators we'll be showing today are comparison operators. These are used to compare two variables. So the available operators we have would be equals to, not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, and less than or equal to. These are pretty important in Python programming when you're doing decision trees, and we'll be going through decision trees and control flow in a different video, but it's definitely good to know all the available comparison operators, as you'll be probably using it a lot when you're coding in Python. The third type of operators I want to show you are logical operators. These are derived from truth tables in the theory of logic in mathematics. And what we have in Python is and, or, and not. So the thing to remember is when you're using an and logic operator, both variables has to be true for it to return true. Whereas for or, you only need one to be true for the result to be true. Whereas if you're using a not, it would reverse whatever the value it is. So if the value is true, if you do not A, it's false. These are also quite important to use and know when you're going to be using control flow and decision trees, which we'll touch on later. So moving on to assignment operators. Assignment operators are pretty straightforward. We've pretty much shown you equals. That is essentially assigning the value on the right to the variable on the left. And there are a few other assignment variables, but the ones that we'll be showing today would be plus equals, which essentially is a short version of x equals x plus 3. Minus equals is a short form of x equals x minus 2. And star equals is essentially the multiplication short version of x equals x multiplied by 2. So the assignment operators are essentially shortcuts. Is mainly used in loops, for loops, while loops, which we'll again touch in a later video. And these are just some operators that you want to know and keep in mind to just make your code a bit more readable. So membership operators are used in list, tuples, and strings. It's essentially a way for you to figure out whether a value exists in the list, tuple, or string. And what we have is in and not in. Fairly straightforward. We have a list of fruits, apple, bananas, and cherries. In the first line, we can see we're checking whether banana is in fruits. It's true because we can see banana is indeed in the fruits list. And the second line, we're checking whether mango not in fruits. And it will also return true because mango is currently not in the fruits list. These are pretty useful when you're working with essentially data structures, and we'll definitely touch on to this in a later video. And finally, we're going to be touching on identity operators. These are not used too often, but essentially identity operators are used to check whether two objects are in the same memory location. We'll definitely touch on memory locations and handling memory in a different video, but for now, identity operators is used to check whether two objects are in the same memory. So we have is and is not as the operator. Here's an example. We see variable A is one list, variable B is a second different list, and variable C is a copy of list A. So in the first line, if we were to check whether A is B, it will return false because list A and list B is two different lists, so it has two different memory locations. Whereas in the second line, A is C will return true because since C is a reference of list A and C will have the same memory location. And finally, the third line, A is not B, it will return true because list A and list B are separate objects, so they don't have the same memory location. And there we go. This is pretty much all the operators that we wanted to run through today. It's fairly straightforward, all these operators. You just, as you use it in your coding, you start remembering it. And always, if you don't know and unsure which operators you can use or which operators are available, you can always look up the official Python documentation, since it's very extensive and very useful. And yeah, thank you for watching to the end. I hope you learned something new regarding operators, and definitely stay tuned for more videos in the Python Fundamentals series.